to keep me on my toes and keep things fresh. But Michael had a handout because he's not feeling well, and I think that helped him a little bit just to get some thoughts on paper. I just had a few notes that I wrote down for myself that thought I'd present, and then we can see what questions or where the conversation goes from there. So as Michael and I were talking, a few things we had in common I want to start off with. So coming up in July, Lindsay Spindler, the 4-H youth development educator, is arranging, along with many other things she does at the fair, an education table. So that's something both Michael and I agreed that we're going to help with. I believe Michael's taking Thursday and I'm taking Friday. I'll double check the schedule, but that's something we both have in the works coming up for next month. We've both been meeting with the Polk County Farmers Institute, and that's a group that's formed to promote agriculture, agricultural education, some crossover Barron County as well. Last meeting was in Turtle Lake, trying to shift a little bit around the county and those things. But that's something both Michael and I both have in common. We both met with Vince and Chad maybe a month or two ago now, time flies. Just talk about some of the needs that they see from their standpoint. And also we did a little background work helping to transition the youth chapter safety programs being run differently across the state. Being the first year of it, we ran into a little legwork, even though that Michael and I aren't certified instructors, trying to get some of the kinks worked out and how that statewide curriculum is going to get passed down to the counties. So a few things that I've been working on, meeting with Northwest Grazers Network, trying to build some relationships there. And I know Michael's going to talk more about that as well when he comes up. Just answering some general questions. So this time of year, the things that come in and this isn't all dairy related, but it's pasture leases, it's hay ground pricing. Those types of questions have really been the most common ones I've been running into coming into this part of the growing season. So we've both been working to try and do some informal needs assessment, just trying to find out what farmers and businesses are looking for. So on my standpoint, the things I run into more is the alternative, maybe your traditional hay corn rotation. So what can we do with cover crops or not? Michael does on the agronomy side, so I'm not touching on that, but how is there a place to feed that? Is there a place to work that in? Help farms out with alfalfa is a finicky crop, is great, but it kills out on us a lot of winter. So that's a question I get a lot. Is there an alternative to that? And the answer is maybe. Kind of yes, but there's still a lot of work to be done there yet to figure that out. So we've opened soliciting input on that. Another thing I run into a lot more on the dairy side is labor issues. Do we spend the money on technology to solve that or not? So one of the things, I don't have a date set yet, but there's a farm in this area. There's a lot of robotics. We're trying to get a field day organized there to get a few more farmers to see how one solution might work out for them. And then taking back to the question thing, circling back around, Mike and I have been both working both locally, but also the statewide basis to kind of how do we get a decision tree, more of a framework on how to answer some of the questions and the things that maybe he and I don't deal with on a day-to-day basis. So, so Kristen and I don't think wants to hear any more about that. That's definitely something that's in the works. We're getting a lot closer on. So thinking back to January, February, a lot of transitions happening. COVID was going on. So the two programs that I was going to highlight were more virtual delivery, but I did get feedback from ag businesses and farmers in Polk County on them. So one of them we called it the Badger Dairy Insight. Was kind of how we branded our dairy programming for the winter season. I dealt a lot more on the reproduction genetics side of it. That's more of my background, kind of helping farmers to one of the topics we had. Good herd check, bad herd check. Well, you know, how many cows do you really need to observe? How you dig a little bit more deeper into some of that data is one of the topics that I took the lead on. And again, this alternative forages thing was another one that I helped out on. We give out fact sheets, video recordings. So we just posted 2 video recordings on how to price, say, how to assess a hay stand that I try to localize for our Polk County area. So if you want the link for that, let me know afterwards. We can shoot that out. Yeah. And then the other one, Mark Stevenson, who does our dairy marketing. He was presented twice in the area, and that was really valuable. More so from like our ag blenders, our FSA staff, people that work with the farm programs, helping to develop some decision trees for like dairy margin coverage. You sign up for it this year or not? So that was another project that was worked on. It did get feedback from Polk County, maybe more so on the lenders and FSA and whatnot, and how to present that program and get more information out on that. So, any luck on Michael?
Yeah, I just promoted him to a panelist. Michael?
Hello, how is everyone? You hear me?
Yeah, we can hear it.
Okay. I think I might have just missed that last part, but did Ryan finish talking, or am I up now to talk? Or
You had all the time you want, Michael.
okay.
No, 5 minutes. He's got don't do that to us.
Yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't join in person today. I don't know, it just came down to some, I don't know, bug or something over the last day and a half. So didn't want to get everyone sick with whatever this is. I don't know if Kristen was able to, I had some handouts available that you might have received some hard copies for. And essentially, I'm just going to be going through the information on that to talk about some of the things that I've been working on in Polk County. So a lot of my positions so far are probably similar to Ryan. It has been just identifying the educational needs through needs assessments in the area, and then kind of logging the findings that I'm discovering, and that's across the whole region. So in Polk County specifically, I've led both an informal and formal needs assessment strategy, where in the informal needs assessment, I'm having informal conversations with farmers and partner organizations and groups, which I have listed on the handout that I have. And just to name a few of them, going to Polk County Farm Bureau meetings, working with the Polk County Farmers Institute and their March meeting, which was in Turtle Lake, going to soil health days in New Richmond, which I realize are outside of Polk County, but like Polk County residents are present at those things, and just having conversations with those residents, in addition to conversations with industry representatives, farmer-led watershed council groups led by Tara Dawn, and then of course the Polk County Land and Water Resources Group with Eric up there in Polk County. Some of the more formal per se needs assessments I've done have been actually distributing a survey to area farmers at the Polk County's Farmer Institute meeting in March. And then I just kind of tagged on here too, the whole Polk County extension team met with Polk County administration, so Vince and Chad, for kind of just more direction on how we can best communicate with the county and just kind of bounce ideas and get thinking about opportunities that we have. So for example, learning about some conservation funding that Polk County received through that meeting and connection. The overarching findings that I've discovered during these needs assessments has been primarily, and this would be across the whole region, but also local to Polk County, would be that prevalent need for education relating to soil conservation, especially soil conservation practices that can protect water quality moving forward. And that can include things like promoting education for best management practices like reduced tillage and cropping systems, or planting more cover crops, or diversifying cropping systems. And then Polk County especially is would be nationally relevant as a watershed of the St. Croix River, which leads directly to the Mississippi River, which is one of the probably the greatest priority watershed in the United States, which you can see highlighted a little bit more on page 2 of the handout, where I just shared basically a situation statement draft, and I'm not going to read through that with you all. I just kind of left that there for you. But you know, this is kind of the data backing up the need for more education in these practices, and kind of just the information that I found in this area through my needs assessments, and then putting that into words of what's the current situation, and then what can I do to start tackling some of the local issues. Ways that I've started tackling that is are listed underneath the programming heading on that document. So I've distributed different fact sheets, like the cover crop termination fact sheet, to area farms. I've worked on cross-county planning and needs assessments with partner organizations and groups. Email and phone consulting, which is pretty prevalent across all the counties, including Polk County. One of the most recent ones I received in Polk County was about pricing standing hay. And I've also worked a little bit with the Northwest Grazers Group, Grazers Network, and Lynn Johnson on some of the events that he's been working on. So Pasture Walk in Polk County last weekend, and then another one coming up 2 weekends from now that I'm planning to present some information about rotational grazing at. And what else have I gave a short presentation to the Polk County Farm Bureau Board about alternative crops, specifically kidney beans, and just kind of opening up that conversation about what diversified cropping systems could look like in the future for this area. Visiting the Polk County land conservation plots that are part of the farmer-led watershed network, and kind of getting a tour and seeing the projects they've been working on out there. And just one of the things I have planned besides that pasture walk specific to Polk County would be educational demonstration at the Polk County Fair, probably relating to cover crops and soil health practices. So that's kind of my long-winded way of rattling some things off. And of course, the camera is just far enough away where I can't really gauge the room super well. But the last thing that I'll kind of point to has just been the partnerships I've been forming and working with in Polk County. So industry partners through cooperatives like Federated Cooperative out of Osceola, the Farm Bureau, which I mentioned earlier, and the Watershed Council, land conservation groups, Jeannie Allen with the Polk County Farmers Institute, and the ways that she's been supporting extension, Lynn Johnson, the Northwest Wisconsin Grazers Network, and then of course, partners with colleagues that work in Polk County. So Lindsay Spindler working with 4-H. I'm working pretty closely with her on the educational booth at the Polk County Fair for July. So that's kind of where things have been with regional crops. I'm not sure if Ryan opened it up to questions or how you guys would like to proceed.
Short and sweet questions.
I have one short one on it's just curiosity kind of, the Mississippi River Gulf situation statement. It said that in 2008, they set a goal of reducing nitrogen and phosphorus by 45%. Do they have an update on where they are now? However,
I would have to check on that to actually see. My inclination is that not a whole lot of progress has happened, just because there hasn't been a widespread enough adoption of some of these practices that would actually reduce that load. But I would have to check on that information to be.
I mean, I was just curious, is because they set a goal in 2008. They set goals.
Takes a while.
Yeah, definitely. All right, thanks.
Thank you. All right, everybody else is good? All right, well, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, that'll open us up right into Jason for our first public hearing.
Okay, you ready, Mr. Chair?
Yes, let's start this one out. Yes.
Okay. So Partner Properties request a conditional use permit to operate a non-metallic mine located in section 21, town 33 north, range 16 west, in the town of Lincoln. Parcel number is 032-00535-1000. The total lot size is 17.6 acres. This public hearing is also to include an opportunity to present testimony on the submitted reclamation plan as well, or if there's any comments on that. It wasn't that long ago, a couple months ago, and that we were here for this property to be rezoned into mining M1. There's currently mines that Scott Lee, the operator, has created kind of right here in the corner. Our ordinance says that underneath the mining zoning classification, you can have a pit open for 1 year on that and up to 1 acre in size. Think of this as like our borrow pit provision for if they need to build a town road or if the county needed to raise a road, you know, and allow them to take and get the material close by instead of hauling it from a normal pit. That's what he's been operating on, right there. This whole area here is kind of a big hill. And so they're looking at trying to level this off. The only, wetland is over here on the east side. But they're not planning on going close to that wetland at all. There is no navigable waters or floodplain on the property. And the town of Lincoln, when they did their rezone, said that they wanted to have input on their conditions. And the applicant has included a lot of those conditions in their application here for like business hours, hours of operation. And so in other words, the town has been involved in that process up to this point. The reclamation plan has an end land use goal of crop production. So the end goal is to basically put it back into farm field. So the access for it is pretty close in that to where this road is coming back right there. And I believe that they intend to keep that. They intend on building a berm along the Highway 46 right away. And then also berm, this is kind of a low area here. It's a little bit higher, then it kind of drops off before it comes back to the big hill. And that's what they've proposed in that building a berm up there along that side as well. The whole site will be internally drained, but by the time that it has those berms, and that right now it would drain to the north and that kind of into that low area. So with that, Bob, can we pull some pictures? Maybe I can even do it now that, yeah, yep.
So start part, would that be like exhibit one is gonna be the application then?
The application doesn't have to be an actual exhibit. If we want to
Some
put
of the
the,
maps that we got will be exhibits then, or it's just in the application.
that's in the application.
All right,
Yep.
so we can just refer to that.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, so these pictures were all taken this spring. Like I said, it's been used as a temporary borrow pit. This is kind of looking to the south. This is County Road H right here. This is looking directly from the road and that straight east. This is the hill that they want to take off. You can see there's virtually no rock there, so it's basically all just a sand pit. This is looking southeast, so this is the property line approximately where the pine trees are here. And that wetland that we talked about would be back here in these pine trees. There's some more pictures. There is a berm and that of topsoil right on the top here right now. Just so you can kind of see some material. Okay, this is looking to the north. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this area, but it used to be the old Jen's Bait Shop and that across the road. Here's where the access is coming. This would be going north. It goes a long ways. And that up towards like the VFW hall and stuff now. The new VFW hall. You can see in that there is some slimy topsoil and that, but again, this was during spring melt, spring runoff. So there's probably around 15 to 20 feet of fill and that there that could be removed to kind of level off that hill. That's all I've got. So the county did provide a class 2 notice prior to the hearing, which involved for this one, we notified the city of Amory because this property is within 1.5 miles of their city limits and that because they have extraterritorial zoning. We have not heard back anything from the city of Amory on it. We also, notified the DNR. The town got notified, but they have provided the comments. And then also the ad was sent out to the adjoining property owners within 300 feet. During the rezone, we did have some neighbors to the east in here, but they did not submit any comments in that for the actual hearing here. So if we look at the application, the applicant says that there will be no washing of material. There'll be no mining within 3 feet of the water table. The business hours shall be limited to 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Saturday. Facility would not be open on Sunday. No off-site material will be stored on the facility. Operator shall keep the highway clean of materials and establish a 200-foot tracking pad. And the driveway is to comply with all state regulations, requirements, because it's accessing Highway 46. Providing a single parking stall for an employee, 220 square feet inside of clean rock. Both of those, that and that tracking pad for the 200 feet, due to the slimy material out there on top at certain times of the year. We're gonna follow OSHA and MSHA requirements, and the town of Lincoln said that they only wanted this pit to be open 6 years. So the applicant has actually made that a little bit tighter because they're saying that it'll be reclaimed by November 15th, 2027. So it'll be a little less than 6 years and it'll be all reclaimed. And then there'll be no lighting except for what's on the equipment that be factory lighting. So yeah, and those conditions are basically what the town of Lincoln provided as well. So.
One of the other conditions I see that Lincoln had was that 1081. You go with the 1081 or go 3 feet above the high water?
And that's so.
Is there quite any big difference or anything?
Well, I think in that the 3 feet above the high water is in that not really going to apply because I believe the groundwater is much lower there. And that the bottom of the ditch along Highway 46 elevation is 1,000 feet. And so the town is wanting to basically keep that level in that, or there'll be 1 foot higher than that. The applicant has said that after everything's reclaimed that they're actually going to be at 1,083. So they'll actually be 2 feet above what the town will allow to go to.
That would be a condition at 1081.
Yeah, I haven't went through any conditions yet. I'm just going off the application.
Yeah, just-
But I do have a list of conditions. So
Okay,
that when
I'm
I'm
just
looking
going
at
off with
it,
Lincoln's
so-
sentence, so here, yeah, so finish would be 1083. All right.
Well, yeah, and like I said, we have no comments either supporting or objecting. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
You mentioned when you had your photo up, that they were gonna put one section back farmland. Wasn't this gonna be a housing development?
I believe that's an end goal and that, but they'll be putting it back to farmland as they go and that into the mining and that, so, yep. So that might be a,
Pardon?
I remember that same thing when they were here.
The end goal.
Yeah.
So
the applicants are here.
they're here.
Yep.
If we have any questions of them or do they have anything to add? I guess that would be
Really, no, it's,
pretty straightforward.
we're just gonna go take the bank off the hill. So,
Okay, go ahead, Brad.
Jason, I guess, or maybe for the owner, keeping the highway clean of foreign materials. If I'm driving down the road, what's considered a foreign material? Because I mean, we know there's gonna be dirt and that kind of thing coming out because I can leave a gravel road and drive onto County Road I and there's dirt on County Road I. So I mean, that's not gonna be considered a foreign material, right?
And that,
No, if there's 6
accumulation-
inches of it, if there's accumulation,
Right.
that's
Like
different.
in that photo and that we showed in that where there was a lot of tracking out on the road, that's what it's to prevent in that. But if they have a tracking pad, clean rock, we've done that with Walton's pits and that we've approved, Jilly's pits that we've approved. And once you have that, then there should be no material getting to the road. So.
Yeah, no, that was,
Obviously, there'll be some coloration or whatever from the trail, dust and stuff, Sure.
So pretty much then, going through our list too, of what we have to look at. The erosion isn't too bad, it isn't very steep, is it? So,
And it'll be internally drained and that, so there won't be any water running off from the pit site. So,
You know, it's still on the east side, they probably have silt fence a little bit there. Until the berms are.
yeah, especially if they strip it, you know, and that,
Yeah.
and then you'll have open area there, so that could be a condition if you want.
Are they gonna have a storm plan too? He's behind. They have a storm plan too then?
Non-metallic mine sites are required to have a industrial stormwater permit through Wisconsin DNR. So I believe they do have a permit currently for the site that they have. So they would just need to maybe amend that or make sure that it covers the extra area that they intend to mine for that site,
Okay,
but it's through DNR.
all right. So that would probably just leave it alone. Yes, that'd be a question.
It does.
You do
It
have,
covers the whole thing.
covers the whole, all the way?
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. Shoreline protection, we're good there. Septic waste, probably not, you probably don't need it. Shouldn't be anybody there. All right. Anybody else have any questions? Well, if not, then let's go into the conditions and stuff, Jason.
The findings of fact are basically what I went through with you. So if we drop down, we can scroll down to the conditions. Okay. A lot of these are coming right from their application or for the town. No washing material, crushing, no material from off-site shall be stored on site, concrete, blacktop, culverts, that kind of stuff. No demolition debris to be hauled on site, but we do typically allow people to bring in clean fill and trees or woods in that they're just gonna burn. So I wanted to make sure that that was clear, that that would be allowed. No mining within the 3 feet of the water table. The town had 1,081 feet above sea level. And that for the elevation, that's a really good measurable because we can go out there with our survey equipment and we can hit that elevation and be exact. Business hours are coming right from the application, and that was what the town was okay with as well. The applicant and that has put in their application that they would have a maximum of 5 acres open at any time, and that is consistent with what we've done with our other pits of this nature. The lighting and that comes right from their application. The driveway and tracking pad and also the parking space are the same. The berm can be constructed along Highway 46, and it talked about a berm to the north. I put in 250 feet there because that basically gets up to the hill. And I put it on the north and the south boundaries because they've already got one on that south side, and there is a house there. And then so that would kind of provide a barrier between both houses to the south and to the north. And then I just put in a general condition and that the town had it broke out that, you know, you need to meet these things at the town level and these things at the state and whatnot. And I just said they must obtain all rules, follow them all. So, and then the whole site to be reclaimed by 11/15/2027. So I believe that's okay with the applicant.
The only thing, you said, crushing or washing, but, when I asked Lincoln, I said, is screening all right, just to get the rocks out if I want to do some mound sand? Because the sand's so fine there that
Yep.
they said it was all right to
Correct.
screen, yeah.
Screening is fine.
We put to that they had that stormwater permit. We should at least reference that somewhere.
He has a catch-all.
That's kind of where I was
It's
going
kind of
with
the
this.
catch-all,
Owner
right?
operator must comply with all town, county, state, and federal regulations.
Okay, I see DNR's at the end of that, all right.
Do you want to put in there that you can screen, just so that somebody doesn't come back?
You can add that right behind no crushing and that, would you
Screening
say?
allowed.
Yeah,
Because I'll think it's a crusher, yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
That would be helpful.
I was just thinking, making sure, because it says no outside material shall be stored. Thinking about your berm's probably gonna be some black dirt or something to haul back in, I'm assuming. Unless you push something off.
We're gonna try to get most of it from there, so.
But I mean, black dirt's allowed to be hauled back.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, any clean fill can be hauled in, yep, and that's what we're right here, so. You just don't want to take and get a big pile of recycled concrete there that's been removed, and then now all of a sudden we're in a position where we got a huge pile there, oh yeah, you can't crush it, you know, so, yep, or blacktop.
Anyone see anything else, Seth? All right. That's your recommendations, and then we have findings of facts.
Right here, it's to operate an undeveloped mine on a 17.37 acre property. It's a quarter mile north of the city of Amory limits. It has access off from Highway 46. We got the one mapped wetland on the east side. No floodplain or navigable waters on site. The end use of the property is ag or crop production. Bottom of the ditch along Highway 46 is 1180. And there are homes on both sides of the property, which is our reasoning for the berms. And that the city of Amory has extraterritorial zoning authority, but did not provide any comments, even though they were notified.
Jason, you just said 17 point some acres on the application. It says 18.84.
On the application,
Am I looking at the wrong?
17.37.
17.37 what a GIS map says. So I don't know if the 18.84 maybe came from the tax roll.
From the tax, maybe,
Yeah, they're not real active.
Okay,
So it's 7.
Because on your map, there's a little goofy line over the highway.
yeah,
Doesn't go to the center of the.
Correct. The state owns the right of way there and it actually narrows up. So it's very common. Can you pull the GIS map back up?
50 to 80 or something, I think, halfway in the property.
Yeah, right here. And then, so
Yeah.
you can even see there's more that the state owns down here where County Road H comes in. There's an old house up here, you know, where the right of way jogs for that as well, you know, and goes around. So it's very typical of the state. I don't know if it's, you know, future planning for passing lanes or intersections, you know, that's what it's usually for. So, but yeah, he does not own to that point. He only owns to the red line. So.
See, they rounded off.
Yeah.
Different forms, it's always different. All right.
A lot of times when you look at the tax rolls and stuff, you know, that they're not accurate. But that's what like Steve and Tracy and them are going through and correcting, and that the more surveys we get done throughout the county, the more accurate those numbers will get, because they'll be able to break down the 40s to be more specific. So fortunately for them, and that they get that call all the time, and that well, I've been paying taxes on 18.84 acres, and that now you say I only got 17.3 acres.
Yeah.
So, but if you look at a lot of our lake lots, they say 0 acres. So even if they've got half acre or maybe even 1.5 acre, the assessor looks at them as it's got a lakefront, you know, it's got 150 feet of frontage. That's how they're assessing it, not adding the acreage. So.
Okay, we just mentioned that they do have an access on 46 already. Was on there. Okay, so that's on. All right. Amory and the town both. Okay. All right, anyone else? Anything? Okay, if not, we can close this public hearing. And get a motion for or against.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Seconded by Doug. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, then all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Okay. Yes, come and get what else? Anything else for
You
you?
have one that may through us, and then you work with Dane, and that, so ours is $400. I don't know if you want to stop and drop it off today, and then you can, and then you be able to operate tomorrow.
Okay.
As long as Dane's good.
Yeah, we're still working through some language on the reclamation plan. We'll make sure to update the plan with some of the conditions that were put on today to make sure things match.
Oh,
But then as soon as they get everything in line with that, we can issue that permit as well.
okay.
So they can't do anything outside of the area they have disturbed until they get that reclamation plan though.
Oh, okay.
So on that, when will we be able to wrap up the reclamation?
Yep, that's
We
on
have a
my,
bond in place today.
yep, that's on my docket for today. So I'll get those to you. Email those changes that we'll need today.
Okay.
So,
So we can operate tomorrow as long as we answer all of those questions?
As soon as you get the language updated, yes, we could issue the permit tomorrow.
Okay.
Or later today if things get updated.
Okay.
You good?
We're good.
Cool.
Thank you.
thank you, thank you.
Yes.
Right. Moving forward then, the next hearing is for U Acres LLC, request a district change from residential R1 to small business commercial B3, located at 1787 108th Street, located in section 5, town 34 north, range 16 west, town of Apple River. Parcel number is 004 00125 0001, and the total lot size is 3.04 acres. We've got one exhibit in the file. I'm going to start with the exhibits just because kind of long. So this is the town of Apple River's monthly board meeting minutes from May 9th. And the town planning commission chairman, Steve Arducer, noted that the commission met on April 26th to approve with conditions a rezone request for 1787 County Road I from Ag 10 to B3 commercial. Limited new units to 3, request was for 5, an enclosed central trash collection area, access road to continue north to Nival Lane, and landscaping screens added to the plan. Developer Jackson Rohde overviewed the proposal. Motion by Chair Brian to approve 5 units to be constructed with the remaining non-unit numbers conditions determined by the planning commission. Motion to approve, seconded by Supervisor King. A voice vote was called, motion carried. So in other words, the planning commission and that wanted to limit it to 3 more dwellings on site, and the town board adopted 5 more units on site. So that's what we would have to go by. And that'll make a little bit more sense here when we look at that property in question. So this is Balsam Lake right here. If we went north here, we'd go by Jonesy's Market. The landing on East Balsam is off of Nival Lane here. So go ahead and scroll in. Kind of a unique property. There was a rezone done on this property to go into commercial zoning back in 1994. And it will remain commercial up until 2015, 2016, when we did the comprehensive rewrite. And at that point, that's when it went back to the Ag 10 classification. There's 3 dwellings on site. They're all the same size according to our permit records. They're all 24 by 28. They've all got a 3,000 gallon holding tank kind of right on the back side. So they've all got their own septics. And with the town, what they were talking about is extending this access road to the north all the way out to Nival Lane, because the applicant is proposing 5 new houses similar to that size on that one parcel. The rezone here to a small business commercial, they're intending on renting them. And so if that is to be done, our normal residential density in an Ag 10 is 1 house per 10 acres. So they're way over the normal density, the way it is right now. And going to 8 homes on that property would be much higher. If we go to the commercial district, then we can do a similar and compatible use as a conditional use to be able to do more of a resort type of atmosphere for a short-term rentals or long-term rentals if they decide to take and do housing for people in Polk County. So this is kind of one step of a 2-step process. And so
Is this, now this is just the rezoning part.
it's just a
We're
rezoning.
gonna have to come back for the density and the stuff that he just handed out.
Correct. And of course, along Balsam there, that's all single family homes and cabins. You do have the church, which is just about a quarter mile north of here on the east side of the road. We got Jonesy's Market up there as well. So going to the south, you know, and that you don't really have any commercial development until you get close to the village limits. That's the reason behind the zoning. So we did provide the classic 2-week notice and then everything out to everybody, but the only comment that we have as an exhibit is the town minutes. So and there was no other support or objection, so.
Oh, from anyone, okay. Okay, so from none of the people that were notified.
And I believe he has handed out and then this packet, and we'll make that exhibit too.
Now,
There's a lot of the
does
stuff.
that go in here, or is this wait till we do the CUP? Or we
I think a lot of it, and that belongs in the part of the CUP application, but it is here.
It's here, so
So
we get
we'll make it an exhibit, we can refer to it in that, in the
in the
CUP
CUP
application as
process
well.
also. Okay, all right.
Help me with location one more time.
Yep.
If you follow that south, is that the curve on?
Yep.
So that's going north and south,
Yes.
and then it curves to go to Balsam Lake.
Yeah, and you're just going around the curve and by that big farm.
I think it used to be, is there a Randall farm? It used to be,
Randall Farm is down here, a little bit farther, so.
the church is just to the north there.
I didn't know that was.
Down a
Yeah,
little
just
bit.
move it down.
Yes.
I see the curve.
And there was
Yeah.
another farm.
There's the
I know
curve right
exactly
there.
where it is.
So here's Jonesy's Market right there,
Yeah.
and the property is right here, and then this here is going right to Balsam Lake, like here's Sunnyside and Paradise. So Randall Farm is right here.
I just want to make sure I was correct and right, exactly where it was.
Yeah, they're not fancy homes out there right now, but they're pretty well kept in that. They don't have a lot of junk, you know, around. I think in their packet here, you know, they identified the housing study that was done in 2020 about providing, you know, reasonable housing, and that's kind of what we're looking at it for, is that it is a way to provide some moderate level housing.
This basically, we look at the rezone part first, and then we'll look at the CUP next.
So it'd be going to small business commercial, so that would be all of our normal commercial uses would still be allowed, but they'd be limited to 20,000 square feet of the building size itself. And as the town indicated, you know, having some screening along the road there, and that would be a requirement in the small business commercial district, so.
Any questions or any questions of the applicant? Is there nobody else here? Or, yeah.
So in phase, well, we can't talk about that.
There you go. I was gonna just,
I knew.
you know, it finally sinks in something.
The wish book for another night.
I was just reading it. Don't ask that quite, don't even look at the book. Well, if we're comfortable then,
Recommendation.
yeah, let's go through the recommendations, kind of our findings of facts, and see what.
Nope, that's just the ordinance. There we go. So for findings of fact, again, property is 3.04 acres, has access off from County Road I and the town road. It's located in the town of Apple River. Want to construct additional dwelling units out there. There's 3 dwellings currently. The size is 24 by 28. They're all 2 bedrooms. And they're all on their own 3,000 gallon holding tank. No floodplain, wetlands, or navigable waters on the property. Apple River approved with conditions implied on the conditional use permit, and then we provide the proper class 2 notice. Conclusions of the law, we might as well scroll down. So staff would recommend approving of the rezone request on that with the conditions of the town, provided that they submit a conditional use permit application down the road. But the rezone itself would not be conditional.
Then they would put their conditions on the CUP.
Correct. Yep. And that recommendation is made by the conclusions of law above, which changing the zoning of this property, small business commercial, is supported by the town of Apple River. We assume they took in, went off from their comprehensive plan. There are several other residential dwellings in the surrounding area, but the property also has some commercial uses. It's located on a county road, which generally is a good spot to locate your commercial businesses. The applicant is going to be putting housing on the property, so the rezoning would comply with our comprehensive plan and the existing and surrounding land use of the property, because we've got homes on site and homes around it, and the impact on the infrastructure, and that would be minimal because it's already got that county road access. And then it just that the town would have input on any conditions when a conditional use permit application is submitted.
Any questions or anything to add? Everything else will come to us at the next one when they apply for that. All right, so then I can entertain a motion for a rezone
I'll make a motion to approve.
to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second
Other questions? Not all those in favor say aye.
it.
Opposed? Okay.
Conditional use permit, did you receive that with our?
Let me check. I'm pretty sure you did, but it must be another folder in the office.
Okay.
So,
So that'll be what? We'll set that one up 2 weeks or something.
we can, yeah, on that, but I believe in that we're gonna talk about whether or not you guys wanna hold a meeting on July 6th because of it being so close to the 4th. So it could be set up for your second meeting date in July,
Sure.
if that's what ends up happening.
Okay, we'll kind of go with that. All right. All right. 6, 7. Yeah, so we're down to 8 parks. We got Ben even here.
I'm here.
They let you out.
Let me out.
Must be a rain day.
He just came from this end. of the
I was
wall
gonna
here.
say this. Snuck it around. Right.
I didn't see him come in. I was sitting
Big
there.
bracelet on here.
Yeah.
Sitting there for a lot of days in a row.
All right, well, I will do my best to keep it pretty brief here. Discussion, the ATV intensive use park, we have a kickoff meeting today with the consultant. The contract was awarded to SCH, so we're gonna meet with SCH today. And we're still looking at a final product, final design, January 2023. So that's, this was any questions on that one?
What's the cost?
$66.
Yeah. You crack yourself up. You gotta ask, don't you? you said that's probably January, it'll,
That's January, yep, January is gonna be the final design. So after the final design will go out. For
so that
bids,
could be done in the winter then if it's some logging or something or whatever.
potentially.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, and then 8B is just the formality. We have to put this on the agenda to notify folks that we are planning on spraying the rail trails. So if they need it, we're gonna spray the stour and the candy with the 2% glyphosate. So
What's the feedback on that?
the feedback on the spraying. Well, a lot of people appreciate the spraying. Green moss and grass that grows up in the trail is bothersome to a lot of folks. But then there's always the people on the other side too that are anti-chemical, under any circumstances. So with the new equipment we bought last year, we have a grader and a leaf blower and a roller or a packer. We've been making pretty good headway on going away from chemicals. There's such a reliance on chemicals. So we're trying more mechanical vegetation management, but we'll still have to spray.
So do you like put up a sign then and say it was sprayed?
We do. We post the sign, we post the trails at all intersections and access points the day before. Call the groups, the user groups, let them know. And then the trails will be closed for 24 hours after.
So you do it on Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, just wondered that you know better.
I never close my fields.
And you don't care.
No.
Yeah, look what it turns out. Okay. See, now is there getting some other stuff that they started, your update on parks and trails?
We have, yep, we have. The parking lots that were approved as the part of the comprehensive trail plan, those projects are coming along. The Woodley Dam project, we're gonna be putting in a fence and a berm as step one. We're ready to greenlight those, both of those parts of that project, and then we're trying to align that project, bigger part, with the grant cycle. So we're gonna wait a little bit until August, until we know whether or not we have a grant for that or not. So that's Woodley Dam. Milltown, that one, we received a good quote from Paragon Excavating, so we're gonna proceed with that one. That's we got $14,000 is what we're looking at. The village is gonna strip it, topsoil. They're gonna take the topsoil. Paragon's gonna come in and run the gravel and do all the final grade stuff. So that's Milltown. And then Wanderoos, the parking lot on the Stour, we received one quote initially, and it was pretty high, so we're still shopping around for that. So
The Wanderers one, Ben, that's, I mean, realistically just gravel and grading or?
yeah, one culvert. There was discussion with the town on whether or not we could just go flush with the road, that whole side of the parking lot, or if we needed two driveways in and out. And that was the elected option. So one culvert, 15-inch culvert, and then gravel. But it's a lot of material because one is high, quite a bit higher than the other. So they're gonna move some of that down, but they're still thinking quite a bit. That's all I have.
It should catch us up, wasn't it? I can't think of. ATV thing, that'll be a big one. Get that SEH. So that starts today, is that up there?
We have a kickoff meeting today. It's a virtual meeting.
Oh, okay.
So then I would imagine there's gonna be some on-site meetings with those guys, the four-wheeler, the
Clubs.
ATV, UTV clubs.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is the first day they haven't been to one.
They're out on the cattail right now, grading.
Great, okay. Good. All right, if no other questions, we're good, huh? All right, thank you. Pam.
Amanda's not here, but I did go to the Wisconsin Auditors Association of Corporation Councils forum over in Green Bay. And Andy Phillips was presenting on this. And it became more of a discussion about safety in numbers because there's so much ambiguity in the way the bill was written. And it really creates this situation where counties almost become, realtors for people who have defaulted on their taxes. And so there was no consensus as far as how Andy Phillips and the WCA is recommending to counties on how to approach it. But once there's the first test case and somebody sues, that's where we're gonna have to, if the safety in numbers, if all the counties and all of the treasurers are handling it the same way, then it's probably better because it's very ambiguous. So that
Did it
was,
make any sense?
there wasn't any like golden nugget from Andy this time. So,
But I mean, the people that wanted to write it, they wanted this 5-year deal and stuff. Did they have any background on that?
this was a push from
Why
the
did they do it?
realtors. This was a push from the realtors. Wow.
From a realtor? Really?
Oh.
And why would they want it to just keep, because they keep selling it, getting it back, selling it, getting it back. They get commissions if they could do it 5 times once a year, okay. There, now I get it.
Yeah.
It just seems unbelievable. How's it gonna work affect us?
I don't know. I'm hoping we're not the test case.
Right, that's what we,
We're
we're
we
the
don't
test
wanna
case,
be.
we're the test case for trails.
Yeah, we don't want to be the
We know
test
that.
case for this.
Yeah, we're good for this too. That's good for this too.
Yeah, hopefully not. I think Kenosha might be up earlier. And they're bigger and they've got a bigger stake in it, more money, so that would be good. More money at stake, yeah.
Because we're down, are we pretty good? Are we pretty?
Yes, so I do have some sheets to hand out. Hopefully enough. Just go around. So we started with 58, I think, properties. We are down to 15, which is about 74.14%. There's only the ones that are highlighted or the ones that have improvements on them. Yeah, it's only one page, sorry. The one second from the bottom, Paul Smith, that is the old post office in Cushing. And he has stated that he is going to let it go. So apparently we're gonna own an old post office, a 2-story building.
Can we own a federal building?
That was a 99-year lease. I haven't noticed because I'm from Cushing. So when the lease came up, they built a different building for a post office and let this go back to whoever had it. And then they sold it to Mr. Smith, I think. There may have been another owner in there. And he was using it, I think, as apartments. And now he's just decided to let it go. It's a very old building, obviously, with a 99-year lease. So, and the one below that is a house in the city of, the village of Osceola. And then the 3 that are highlighted on the first 3 highlights, they're owned by one couple, James and Roxanne. They have not responded to any notices. It's 2 different houses, one on 46 and then the house, and I think it's a garage on the other lot over by Deer Lake.
It's a cabin,
Yep, cabin,
a little cabin and
Yep.
then a house.
and then a garage, I think. Oh, is it a cabin and a garage house? Okay. We've tried to contact them repeatedly. They've been on the verge of tax foreclosure for a couple different years, and unfortunately, they just stopped communicating. We try to work with people as much as we can. We did have another one that we pulled off because there was a fire in March, and one of the 2 owners passed away. And so we're allowing the other owner, obviously, time to, if there's an order, it was her brother. And the village has talked to us about that one, so we're just gonna hold off on that one for a year and see what happens. The very bottom of the sheet, if you see there's 4 lots owned by DeVry. Those were 4 properties that we took about 5 years ago. He purchased them on auction and never paid a single cent in taxes, so they're gonna go up again. There's a couple that are just minor pieces. The one, the Clova one of those looks like it's more of a utility easement. Most of those, the ones in this village of Osceola, are in one of the new developments, kind of over by Polaris. So that's what those are. The second one down, I know the neighbor's very interested in that, and she's hoping it goes up for sale and she can buy it at auction. So the top one is, if you see there's a note, very small print, sorry about that, but it was a parcel with, it was 2 parcels. The home was foreclosed on by the mortgage company and sold. This parcel was not, because it was not part of the original mortgage. So it's the land only that was next to the house, so. So that's kind of not a lot of exciting ones, except for the one with the 2 homes and the cabin. And I think the one in the village of Osceola, that looks like, I haven't driven by it, I probably will one of these days. I live down in that area, just to kind of see what it looks like. Always a good idea to kind of get a general idea. So we know what we're getting into. But otherwise, they seem to be pretty much straightforward. As soon as we're looking at taking them back to court, or in the court counsel's office, I think on Tuesday, because my deputy is out until Monday. So at that point, they'll go to court. Once they come back, the county will own them. Land information will then send out eviction notices. They'll have a 45-day eviction period and a 45-day redemption period, but then they have to pay all the taxes up to date through the 2021 taxes. So, and then if they pay all those taxes, then we vacate the judgment and it goes back into their name, all liens stay on the property. Then after those 45 days, we get to talk about what happens next.
So it's still 90 days out.
Yep, about.
Oh, that's what we gotta get it done this year.
So,
All right.
and other than that,
But at
14
least there isn't a
acres,
lot. I mean, there isn't a lot, I mean,
No.
compared to what we used to have sitting, but
we're very
seems like we
aggressive
just-
at contacting people and working and getting into payment plans, talking to them. And we have one that was up for foreclosure, but they're trying to sell it. So we give them an extra year as long as they send us a copy of the realtor contract, stuff like that. Because it's in our best interest if people sell it and pay the taxes and the back interest, so.
sure. We skipped 2 years, so it seems that
Yeah.
isn't so bad that we have 15 now. I
Yeah,
mean, when we think of that. But are those 58 right on the edge too for next year?
probably a good portion of them.
Okay.
Some did pay in full up through 2021s. There's a new program out through the state treasurer's office. It's Wisconsin Hope for Homeowners, and then there's 2 of them. One gives a $1,000 payment, and one will pay up to like your 18s or your 19s and 20s, or 20s and 21s, something like that. And they are, you have to fill out a form. It doesn't appear to be that difficult. And then it's grant money of some sort that comes probably from something similar to ARPA funds for COVID. And so that's really helped. We've had, I think we made about $60,000 that's come to this county alone. So, and we also sent everybody that was on delinquents, we sent that information to all of them also. So we find something, we sell it. And Kenosha County was very much, and the state treasurer was very much behind getting those programs up and running and working. Kenosha County and one other county worked really hard with the state treasurer to address the needs that are there for the taxpayers. So,
What are we
that's
at right
all.
now?
Huh?
What is that account at now? What is it at?
I think we've received like 60,000 or something.
No, but I mean, are we like at 100,000 in that back tax account that we're behind her?
You know, I haven't looked at it since I sent it to the auditors, but I think we're down to like 65,000 or something.
So it's still down.
Yeah, yeah, we haven't taken any since the last time we gave the number out,
Oh, so it's at 64, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
so.
Okay. And this won't add a lot, but if these are for sale.
Yeah. And that the amount in the principal column does not include any interest, so the amount that the taxpayer has to pay is above what's shown there. But that's how much would go into the tax foreclosed or the tax deed account.
Okay.
So it's not a huge amount. Most of them are land, small amounts.
They're small. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really. That's a hard one. We used to talk to them all the time and then they just stopped. So,
Any of these, do we look at like we did at Turtle Lake and we say we don't take it?
usually if there's something in that line, we try to, bring it up to administration, and say, you know, this is one that we don't think is in the best interest of the county.
It have to take over.
Right, because we don't have to take any properties. It just says you may, it doesn't say you have to. So that gives us the discretion of the county. And then our office does things like with the one with the fire mark, with the one co-owner died. Our office discretion is that we just pull that one and work with them and see what happens in the next year.
Sure.
And
If we don't take the property, the bill stays out there. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's still
Yeah.
due
Yeah.
to us. It's,
all the interest, everything, we don't change anything like that. So it just keeps accruing.
But if it's something like Turtle Lake or like a building
Right.
in Browns, you know,
Yeah.
where it's 100,000 to clean it up.
Yeah.
We're gonna get 2,000 for it.
Once the county owns it, the county is responsible for any known cleanups.
Laws.
Yeah, yeah, like a gas station or something you want to be very careful about. I know the one in the village of Milltown, the village itself is interested in taking over it. I talked to Luann a little bit. She's gonna talk to the sister of the gentleman who died and see if she wants to just sell it to the village. And she was comfortable, she hadn't talked to the village board that much, but she was comfortable with paying the back taxes. So if the county does end up looking at taking that, that'll be something that I'll bring to the group.
So some of them might work out that way,
Right.
like these other ones, okay.
So going down the road. But
Sure.
we do always try to get at least the back tax amount if we sell it to, you know, or if we transfer ownership to a municipality. So the municipality is the only group that we can transfer ownership to. Otherwise, they have to be sold by public sale to all of the public, except for me.
Yeah.
There's a law that says the treasurer cannot bid on tax foreclosed properties because obviously that would be a huge conflict of interest. So,
So your husband does it.
yeah.
Okay.
You know, we have enough bills and stuff. We don't need any more land.
All right, and so that bill we should try to get her to come explain why she pushed that. Miss Magnifique. And I wonder if they could explain it. Well, look, I'll look into it a little
Yeah.
more, because I read, it's just bizarre.
Well, and the big issue is that has the county responsible for the liens on the property.
And for years.
For 5 years.
Yeah.
Well, you have to pay the liens when you take it, apparently.
And then they can still buy it back and get it without liens on it. So-
Well, they have to pay all the taxes, liens, et cetera, they have to pay back to the county. And any taxes that would have accrued in those 5 years. But it sounds like we probably could sell it. We would just have to hold the funds.
For 5 years, in
For
case they
5
come back
years,
and
yeah.
decide to buy it.
And then if there's not enough money to pay the liens, which would be very common in some of these circumstances, then you have to go to the judge and the judge would determine what money is split which way, from what I could read.
And there is a push to clarify and modify and amend. So
Yeah.
Yeah, the treasurer's organization, the county treasurer's organization had a lot of conversations on this. We did not necessarily support the bill, but at the same time, it was very clear that it was going to pass and that the governor was going to sign it. So we didn't feel that it was felt by the president, vice president, and the committees that we didn't want to necessarily come out against it, optics purposes. So.
Political, yes.
Yes. Politics is best. So, we held hope that maybe it wouldn't get signed.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Any questions?
Thank you.
It's almost too easy of a year for that stuff. So, 50, that's a quick spend.
Right.
30 or 40. Yeah, that battle. Go ahead.
Well, I'm glad Ben was here. We did talk about the comprehensive trail network plan, and yes, we'll be attending the kickoff meeting with SDH for the intensive park later today.
On that, can I ask a question about that? What liability does Boulder County have on that intensive park?
So I think we're gonna charge a fee to identify.
Oh, okay.
So it's free
Recreational use.
Okay.
It's the same as honey plant.
Oh,
That
really?
we're not,
Okay.
if somebody shoots each other, it isn't our fault.
Okay, okay. I mean, I just know how many accidents there are with ATVs.
Mhm.
And then when you put an intensive one, you know.
That's why we took out the loading ramp. That was an initial concept.
Yeah, I remember that.
So we took that out because that just come up.
And jump.
A jump,
jump.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. The request for proposals for the feasibility study to evaluate routes for ATVs and equestrians between St. Croix Falls and Burnett County was released Friday. That is out there, 6-week window. We asked them to look at 4 different options, sharing the Gandy within the Gandy right of way, punching a trail through private easements parallel to the Gandy, or using a combination of town roads. So that is out there. Hopefully we'll get some bids. I think the due date is July 22nd. We also met with the cross-country skiers and mountain bikers. Got some really good feedback on them regarding future development in Algren and Candy, as well as another partnership with the Woolly mountain biking club, using either the Work Preserve in Croix Falls or off Maple Drive there. They have a network of trails there now. That might be another cooperative agreement. Tim and I will meet with the city about that. So we'll work through that. So those are still in some planning stages. We decided to, because we have 13 projects, just to put together a summary and update of each of the projects. We're posting it on our parks page. I'm going to put, it's only 2 pages, send it to Vince. I'm going to include that in your next packet, just a brief summary of where we're at.
Oh, which one?
Yes.
Yeah, that we're going,
So,
yeah.
yeah, we
know
just
we're
got
working
it.
on it.
Yeah. We gotta be good. We're getting phone calls. I'll put that in the next week's packet, next week's packet. I think that's it. Regarding the
Hey, did Judge Black say anything yet?
He granted the Friends motion to amend the pleading. And now they are setting a new briefing schedule for new motions to dismiss.
July 8th.
I believe we will have a new Attorney General before Black makes any decisions.
We
We can only hope.
Well, we should ask him about the cat killer after that. So we get that in 3 years. Is that seriously?
You're gonna be retired totally before the cat.
No, you know, I'll be dead before they have all this done. I mean, you can't go any slower. I mean, you gotta put it forward someday. You can't always be in reverse.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. It's good it wasn't something serious that they have an injunction, wasn't it? For snowmobile season. what they were worried about.
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought.
And I don't anticipate that they'll file another injunction before equestrian season, because it's moot. So if the case is still pending, it'll be open.
Yeah, yeah. Good update. That's good.
We tune in and we try to pay attention to sharing. So, yeah, they're not, haven't been very productive.
No, I mean, it's just, I mean, yeah, I don't know what to even call it anymore.
Full employment for lawyers.
Oh, my God. Where's the screw? How many people are in that group? Can we find out how many people are in the Friends group? We should try to find that out. So those 100 people are the ones slowing down the whole county, and everybody's abusing it. So we got 100 people that have money to pay 2 lady lawyers.
We're just lawyers, whatever
Okay.
gender, we're just lawyers.
I don't know. I watched him on video. That's why I said it. Okay. But 2 lawyers to argue the stupidest things in the world, that there's tracks on a gravel trail. I mean, are these people for real? How do they get a license to even say they're a lawyer?
And now it's gonna get sprayed with Roundup.
Well, no,
Yeah,
it's gonna get, well, now, and shut down for 24 hours.
nobody walks it anyway, so what's?
Now they're gonna shut it for 24 hours. Oh my God. I mean, maybe he'll make a ruling right today then for that. Instead of waiting. Okay. Okay.
A quick update, the forestry position closes tomorrow. Hoping to have some good candidates.
Have you checked in to see if there's been?
We actually extended it. It closed about 10 days ago. We had 5 applicants, only 1 had a forestry degree. That's a requirement for the forest administrator grant. So we reached out to the 1 qualified candidate, asked them to be patient. And last time I looked at NeoGov, we have 5. We're back to 5 again.
With
Additional?
Additional,
Oh.
yeah.
With degrees.
So we failed those 4 out of 5, and so these additional.
Oh,
Someone stopped by to police from Ladysmith. Point, he's interested, he stopped by, visited with us yesterday, so he's one of them. There's someone that's interested. One thing in the packet was the undeveloped lakes summary. This was an idea I believe Supervisor Olson brought to the table to measure some undeveloped lakes and perhaps compare them to developed lakes. There's a lot of stuff in there. I put that in the packets. Basically, using GIS, our hydro layer, we identified, we came down with 14. I think the map is in there too. Is the map in there? So there's 14 undeveloped water bodies, and I explained all the criteria and the size, etc. And we checked with the DNR regarding their standards for measuring both impaired and non-impaired water. And normally they take 3 samples a year. They look at phosphorus, chlorophyll, they use the SFP dish for clarity. We don't have bathymetric maps for all of these, so it's going to require us to find the deep hole to pull samples for, dissolved oxygen, pH, salinity, the temperature. Also in there is the idea of doing 1 midsummer plant survey as well as 1 midsummer AIS, look at any invasive species. Those, even though that's part of the DNR's protocol or methodology, those are optional. So if we remove those, it's half the cost. So again, looking at 2 staff, we need to have 2 out on these water bodies because, well, 1, they don't have really good access just for safety concerns. Plus, we need to find that deepest part of the lake, or the deepest hole. So staff time, including our fringes, lab costs, shipping. If we were gonna include the plant survey and AIS, it's 4,000 per lake over 2 years. So it's a total cost over 2 years. If we cut out the plant survey and the invasive species survey, it's 2,000 per lake. If we're gonna do all 14, then you're looking at 28,000 over 2 years or 14,000 a year to measure those lakes. So that's the cost. You know, you could look at maybe just measuring half of the 14 we identified. I think that would give us a good baseline using scientific methodology. We want more than 1 or 2. So there's that option as well. So you could choose half the lakes.
Some are all pretty grouped together that you take.
Right, yeah.
Outside ones and do. some
Yeah,
of them
talking to
or something.
staff, with the ideal ones are Margaret's, Ember Lake, Pogo Lake, Lost Lake, and Ox Lake. I think those are ideal.
Okay.
So, because how many of these are, because Ice Lake is private, Little Ward is private.
The
How-
board has access to its own.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
said Margaret,
Slide it
Pogo
over.
Lake, Ox Lake, and what was the fourth one?
The 5 that staff are interested in, because I think we're gonna get the best data, is Ox Lake, which is nice because it's south of 8. Lost Lake, Pogo, Ember, Margaret. We're kind of torn on Woodsman. But those are 5 or 6 that we could consider. So we did 5, that's 10,000 over 2 years or 5,000 a year. That we could measure.
I think 5 is more than enough.
Yeah, I
An
would think
apple.
5
I
sounds like
number
a
five,
good
and
number.
it's spread out to where they are too
Yep.
pretty well.
So are those that you've listed then, Bob, I mean, are they all on public land or some of them, you know, are they? on-
We looked at them, we tried to consider access was a big piece. But yeah, we did find either a driveway or an easement to access those lakes, so we can gain access. We're gonna have to portage on some of them, but, that's fine. We gotta
kind of wrap to get into something
We gotta.
with your stuff. Yeah.
So is there any added value to doing both? The plant innovation species and like together, are you saving because doing them separately, there would be an additional cost?
That's again, the DNR protocol, it's their methodology, they recommend, when they measure impaired and non-impaired lands, they include those 2 surveys. So, but we think that's kind of optional, because we're just looking at water quality. But if you're interested in identifying if there are invasive species on these undeveloped water bodies, you can certainly add that. Plant surveys are always pretty.
But don't they almost do that when they do the water? But don't they almost? I mean, if you walk through the lily
You get
pads
to the plant survey.
to get there,
You circumnavigate the whole.
the whole thing you have to.
Mhm.
Okay,
That's still time consuming.
yeah, that takes more time. I see.
So it's a suggestion by staff. I mean, that's optional, but you know, it's outside of, methodology.
So are these lakes, so like when you originally talked about park, nothing, no farmland that flows into Margaret. I think part of what your basis was to get some lakes that are not influenced by farmland.
Influenced by anything, not
To try to
influenced
get
by
a-
agriculture, not influenced
Like
by.
Ox Lake, that's done by the Bible camp, right? That's the Ox Lake Bible camp.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
Bible campus type on that.
wouldn't some of that have influences in getting away from what Brad was looking at?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if it does, I mean,
You know, and I think in your summary here, it says something about houses and stuff, so
Right.
I guess I'm
Because
just.
even a little ward now has houses on it, right, Doug? Oh, okay.
With more to come.
Yeah. But I mean, no, you're right. That was, my premise was go find, Margaret Lake. Ice Lake can dry up to nothing more than a puddle.
But looking at
But
getting
lakes that
a
are-
standard.
looking at that
baseline,
standard
To
of,
see what's
there
there.
it is, there's no one, there's not a, I mean, you look at Margaret, there's not a road, there's not a person, there's not a motorboat, there is nothing.
That's
It's
gonna influence
hills
that
on
water.
hills on four sides, you know.
So
As
yeah,
Doug said at that last meeting,
on
Tula,
14,
you can
7.
pour a mile into Tula, but you know, what would you get? And I guess that was my thought, of go find lakes like Margaret. You know, that there's nothing that can touch them. There's not a Bible camp that's used, you know,
Well, there's no farm fields, there's nothing.
there's nothing that can.
Other
you
than
know.
the natural oak leaves that go into that.
So then it could be
grass.
high
Yeah, 'cause
phosphorus
even-
already.
Right,
Again, we're trying
And I
to
think
fight
that's-
something that we can't.
I'm gonna assume Bass Lake is the one on 48 or not.
North.
Because there's about 20 of them.
Yeah,
That's the
there's quite a
trouble.
few, yeah.
I don't think that's, yeah.
McKinsey would be close to your example.
Right, no, because I thought of that one day. Yeah, because Godfrey by Serba is on I mean, it has an inlet and an outlet, but there's really no agriculture would have to come from a long ways, but that was my point of truly that isolated lake, because as you know, with the Bible camp there, I was at a Lake Association meeting a couple weeks ago, and they said, well, one person said, well, you know, when I was a kid, we just went down and washed in the lake with soap, you know, well, that's having a huge effect on the lake in the long run, you know. So yeah, I will say like here, Margaret was my thought of that truly isolated lake where there's no one. You know, I can't believe that Dinger isn't on there because that's actually in the middle of the woods. And so is Margaret. But I think anytime, even with Little Ward, I mean, the size of Little Ward with a house on it, County Road O, you know, it's getting all the salt coming off of County Road O. Those types of things, it's, you know, man, has had an impact on Little Ward just because of the amount of salt and sand and,
Yeah.
you know, over 50 years dumped on the road.
You're trying to manage something that you can't manage, Howard. You know, you can have all kinds of goals, kind of back to your comment earlier, Sharon, about the Mississippi, you know, that thing, you know, if you don't measure it, how are you gonna know, like, you know, what's your baseline?
Yeah, that's what we're kind of looking at. I mean, what if the phosphorus is at, say, 10?
Because of all the dead.
So what are we
stuff around the
fighting?
lake.
Yeah, we're fighting something we can't.
Yeah, and I guess that was initially, I will say that was my goal. You go test those, there again, the Margarets. And what if the phosphorus level in Margaret is through the roof?
Yeah. Then we gotta figure out how.
You know,
how do you
because
get it out
no
of
one-
another
No one of any kind has ever affected Margaret.
Right.
You know, so,
Except for
Those
what
are the-
rains down in the sky, that's it.
yeah,
Couldn't you? Compare Margaret to,
Where do you?
oh, yeah,
you know, maybe that would help your baseline. Because Margaret is as undisturbed as it was.
yeah.
But we need more than one.
What's your, just for clarification, what's your end goal with studying?
Just to see what the difference is, because there again, just using Margaret, it's never been touched by anything. So is the phosphorus level in Margaret as high as it is in Balsam Lake?
Or the nitrates or anything else? What?
Or is it barely on the
Drinkable.
scale,
Yeah.
you know, because of it? I mean, I don't know what it is. It could be either way.
If you want to study the differences between those that are touched by humans on a regular basis versus those who are not, you're really going to have to do a multiple lake.
Yeah.
Right.
The other lakes are being tested because of the lake associations and stuff. So
The
we
ones
get-
where people live,
Yeah.
but I would, you know, lakes like Margaret, what other ones? I think that's what you
There's
marked on
7
here.
total that are undeveloped,
Yeah.
still in that same category. So what I'm hearing is maybe we relook at the lakes again, right?
Yeah.
And so we want to find the most
Most
least developed.
secluded and not
undeveloped
affected by,
and where
you know,
nothing, where it is literally just in the bowl, like Mark.
Yeah.
You know, it's, there it is, it's in the bowl, nothing,
you don't have,
nothing outside of Margaret affects Margaret.
you don't have a ton of farm runoff or.
Yeah,
Lawn
there's
runoff or
nothing
anything.
because,
It's woods. Woods is a watershed.
No farm.
Right.
So I mean, we're talking a long ways to the next field.
So is this something you guys would like to be a part of the proposed administrator's budget for next year?
It's a 2-year project. The qualitative data, 2 years of sample.
yeah, I think so. I mean, that's,
To get it in there, yes, I think, and see if there's grants for it also. It's something that, you know,
There are, but usually through the lake.
Yeah.
I'll ask about that. I don't know.
well, the DNR too, I mean, so we have a baseline, I mean, the DNR just sets these numbers from, it's like all of a sudden the St. Croix went to be impaired because they changed the number.
Yeah.
You know, because 10 years ago, the 1 to 20 phosphorus was like 6, and no, okay, now 5 is the number because you got it down to that. Now we're gonna impair it again, so you can work on it. You get more money.
yeah, change the number and make it,
So it's impaired.
yeah.
What I'm hearing is we'll re-examine the water bodies. We're supportive of measuring the least developed lakes. And I think it's 7 where we're at. And
5 to 7, yeah.
5 to 7, I'll look for grants to subsidize, but basically put in the 2023 budget as a
Yep.
budget request.
As a budget request to get it started.
Yeah, because it's not gonna happen this year anyway.
No, they won't have.
But again, it gives you good information for what it could be, just natural. If you didn't put a house on that lake, here's what it's gonna be. In today's climate.
Yeah,
And we are getting
It's-
blamed for the most phosphorus in the St. Croix River.
Yeah, well, and it's the only way to show what the phosphorus level is in a lake that's
Natural.
naturally.
Yeah, which it could be high, who knows?
Oh, yeah,
It could be impaired without anybody being there.
Right.
They just don't study
By
because
the
nobody lives
standards
there.
that are set.
Phosphorus occurs naturally.
Yeah,
So,
and all of it does, all the stuff, all the things they're tested for occurs naturally.
maybe-
Okay.
Well, I want to thank you. It's an interesting initiative and we'll stay on task. Thank you. Sharon O'Connell, I think the next agenda, we have 2 items now. Obviously, we're meeting again June 29th to the continuance of the public hearing for Blue Rock Creek for their conditional use. Don't know if that's going to spill over to another meeting, but that is scheduled to be in this room. And did you like the setup the way it was? I mean,
It worked. I mean,
It
that's,
worked?
it worked. I guess we gotta see if it'll work. I mean, I guess, so all the people could see the screens and stuff. I guess
Yeah.
that was the biggest thing. So that
in
we
the
did-
multi-purpose room, I guess was well received, by the way.
Yeah,
Okay, so we'll set up the room the same, but for July 6th, let's see. Supervisor Kelly has an amendment to that private land use agreement.
Are you
That
meeting on the
could
6th?
wait. I
well, we're gonna
suppose.
decide kind of, we're wondering if that Blue Rock's gonna go. Do you think it'll get done at that next week?
I think it'll get done at least the public hearing.
Okay,
We have
that part I
11
think will too.
we have
But the
11 more
discussions-
folks, 11 more folks.
11 more
We're not
people.
adding more.
And we didn't add any more,
We can
but I mean, with discussion and everything else, questions,
Rebuttal.
I think we can get through it and rebuttals.
Well, how long can Brad stay?
I will not be here on the 29th. I could join by Zoom, but I will not be here on the 29th.
There's still 4 of us. Tracy can't, she wasn't at the first one. You can sit here and listen, you just get blasted.
I have some
There's still a
teenagers-
quorum.
I have teenagers at home that could milk some
I know a guy who's got a milking hat that I could send home. Milk for him.
Let me have those.
cows.
You know what?
Trust me, the 5-year-old could help you. But I'm not saying who it is.
But you didn't just get to ask your extension guy any questions, maybe send him there to see if he knows about it.
Because what I would recommend, since we're just talking about future meetings, if it gets done with the rest of the public comment and then any rebuttal from the applicant, and that part is done at a reasonable time, I would suggest not then deferring to deliberate on a different day, because then you open yourself up to lobbying efforts and arguments that you're being, you're using.
Well, I mean, I gotta think there's what, 10 or 11 left? 11?
And as long as they don't filibuster and keep saying the same thing over and over again.
Well, if they say the same thing over and over and over again, we can say, is there anything new? I mean, so, yeah, I gotta think.
It's hard to cut them off, but I mean, I think we get that part done, but no. Those 11 get done sooner. Because a couple of them didn't have much to say. They just pretty much,
The applicant.
Amy had one and a couple other ones had ones that just want to come up and say, not in my backyard. So I mean, there's 3 of the 7.
The applicant could go on quite a bit for the rebuttal piece.
Oh, gosh, yes.
I mean, I guess that's the question.
Well, since
Can we just stay on task that whole day and go beyond 3:30? That's the question.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I only made us quit a half an hour early.
It took a half an hour to decide it.
Yeah.
The other thing with that date, the 29th, if it does go later, the agenda for the 6th would have to go out that day.
Yeah.
So we would need to know, of course, beforehand if you're keeping the 6th.
Yeah, open for anything. Since the only other one would be that conditional use, if that one's ready.
You.
And this
Yeah.
one, I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's the 2 agenda. I mean, it's a pretty light agenda, Chairman O'Connell. I mean, we just have those 2 items, the CUP for you, property.
Yes, that guy isn't that big of a hurry.
Yeah,
We can do it the second.
doesn't sound like the amendment to the land use agreement. There's a sense of urgency here. We wait till the 20th.
I think so.
We can vote on it.
Well, let's see. I could make.
Well, let's just push everything to the 20th then. And I mean, that gives us some room if we do end up going past the 29th. Maybe it can't be the 6th, but it could be the 7th or the 8th or one day of the following week.
Well, I think if we're gonna be asking for some more information, I don't think you'll be able to get it to us by the 6th.
Anyway, we shouldn't talk about what.
Could happen.
Right.
Well, it could not end, is what I'm
Right,
saying.
yes, you can say
Okay,
that.
Okay.
But I think if we just, I mean, as long as nothing is pressing for the 6th.
If it's only those 2 things,
If
I think
just
we can,
those 2 things, move it to the
yeah.
20th, and then if the 29th does need another day, there'll be a lot of days.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so, because that's tough to come to a meeting for those 2 few things. And that's isn't very controversial, so I think it'll go pretty good. I mean, because there was
Again,
nobody here at the rezoning. You like that?
I should get like a little zap.
I got cattle prods.
Oh, it would.
Like a
But I
dog
sure would
collar.
have a fun
Training
job.
I know. Like that'll keep us.
So we're good? We're good?
I think so. I mean, you can't think of it. I mean, the 29th is just Blue Rock.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just straight up.
We'll set
And then the
room.
other 2 things will just set whatever else, the normal updates or whatever.
And to clarify too, I think we've talked about this, Bob, that Blue Rock Quarry and the 29th, we are starting actually at 10. We're not doing the hour. Or was that?
9 o'clock.
9
It's
o'clock.
right at 9, okay.
Starts
There's-
at
I
9.
had 2
We're not doing
questions. I
that.
think I got.
No, there's nothing before it. It'll start at
Right at
9.
9, and we'll jump right into the public comment portion.
Yeah,
Right.
right where we left off, pretty much.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Bob?
No discussion, all those in favor say aye.
That, I think this is like a.
Opposed?
Yeah, I got a couple pictures.
Oh,
My cousin got these.
Yeah.
Games.
I can put that in.
Okay, just a
Yep,
minute.
that was already.